In this episode of The Spiritual Perspective, I'm going to give you the 5 most real-world signs that your inner work is indeed paying off. Let me ask you something. How do you actually know that your inner work is working? Because that's the tricky part about meditation and journaling and gratitude, therapy, and working on your purpose. None of it comes with a clear scoreboard. There's no app telling you, congratulations, you just leveled up spiritually. And that's why so many people wonder, am I doing it right? Or am I wasting my time? Is anything really changing in my life? But here is the good news. There are unmistakable symptoms of your inner work actually working. And if you know what they are and what to look for, you will start to see them pretty clearly. In fact, you'll get to the point where you can't not see them. And in this episode of The Spiritual Perspective, I'm going to give you the 5 most real-world signs that your inner work is indeed paying off. These are not some abstract signs. These are things that you can literally notice within yourself in a day-to-day and even in a moment-to-moment basis. But, and this is important, you will only see these signs if your inner work is consistent. In other words, you can't be off and on and occasionally doing your meditation practice and expect to see any of these benefits. So it has to be daily. It has to be consistent. If you're dipping in and dipping out, meditating once every couple of weeks, journaling only when you're in a crisis, you're probably not going to recognize many of these signs. But if you are showing up daily, and if you're committed to your practices, I guarantee you are going to relate to maybe 3, 4, or all 5 of these symptoms. And then at the end of the episode, I'm going to share a story that kind of shows you how it all comes together in a very practical way and why progress can oftentimes feel invisible unless you have this particular symptom. All right, so let's get into it. Symptom number 1, that your inner work is working for you. You are becoming more adaptable. Now, when I say more adaptable, I don't mean that you were completely rigid before you started doing your inner work and all of a sudden, like a light switch, you become Mr. or Mrs. Zen. It's not binary, right? It's relative. Adaptable means that compared to whatever you were experiencing before, you're now less reactive, you're more centered, you're more grounded, particularly when life doesn't go as planned. Let me put it this way. Before you started doing your inner work, maybe you could get reactive, you could be angry or defensive whenever pressure showed up. Maybe you spiraled into overwhelm. Maybe you would occasionally freeze or experience paralysis analysis and not really know what to do. But now you're noticing that instead of reacting, snapping, panicking, you're able to experience a little bit more spaciousness, which allows you to breathe and to respond from that more centered place. Just like in sports, the rookie may panic when the play starts to break down, but the veteran is able to adjust right in the middle of the play. Same ball, same field, totally different outcomes. That's what adaptability looks like. And when you develop that skill, life doesn't feel as threatening for you because you're now able to tap into that adaptation energy, which allows you to navigate through even the biggest challenge or obstacle. Okay, symptom number 2, you start to hear your intuition a lot louder and a lot clearer. Now, just one note about intuition. I don't mean that your intuition is going to start coming to you as a literal voice in your spoken language being whispered into your ear. I'm not saying that you're going to be walking down the street one day and suddenly you're going to be like Moses and hear the voice of God say, go to the left. It's more subtle than that. It's what I call your fine level of feeling, right? It's kind of like an old radio. Before you were consistent with your inner work, maybe the signal that you were hearing sounded like just a bunch of noise, right? It was fuzzy. And you needed to strain in order to hear what is that song trying to come through the static. But after consistent practice, the static starts to clear away and the clear, crisp melody starts to come through. And that melody is how your intuition is. It speaks to you in the language of expansion or contraction. Meaning, if a decision is meant for you, then that decision and all of the possibilities that will come from that decision are going to make you just inherently feel more expansive, meaning it's going to open you up. It's going to allow you to feel more authentic. It's going to allow you to feel like you're making a choice that's aligned with your values. It's going to allow you to feel like you're on your purpose, right? All of that means your intuition is saying, go, green light, yes, don't hesitate, make your move. Now, if conversely, a decision makes you feel contracted, if it makes you feel like you're betraying yourself or your values, if it makes you feel small, if it makes you feel like you're compromising what really matters to you, that is your intuition that is saying no. And here's the thing, without doing your consistent inner work, it's really easy to get seduced by the glitter that is causing you to have to compromise yourself in some way, right? Somebody's dangling the surface rewards or the money or the status or the approval. And if you haven't been doing your inner work, you may find yourself getting lured into that direction, which may cause you to betray your values. But when you have been doing your inner work, you may start to notice, yeah, that looks glittery, but I still feel like I'm not able to be myself. So I'm going to make a different choice. I'm going to walk away from this opportunity because I know that there is another opportunity that is going to come to me that feels more aligned. So it's not that the voice gets louder necessarily. It's that your ability to hear the voice becomes greater and greater. All right. Symptom number 3, your nervous system stays relaxed even in the face of uncertainty. Now, this one is huge because without inner work, our nervous system is kind of like a roller coaster. It has peaks, it has valleys. When things are going well, we feel relaxed. When things appear to be falling apart, we may find ourselves spiraling into stress or anxiety or occasionally having a panic attack. And why does that happen? Because stress is accumulating in the body, kind of like a pressure cooker. And when there's no release valve, the brain switches away from adaptable mode into survival mode, which means instead of being able to access our prefrontal cortex, which is the part of the brain that gives us the ability to see greater possibilities and to be able to weigh the options more objectively and to make better decisions, everything gets rerouted to our reptilian brain, which is where we find ourselves running around in fight, flight, or freeze mode. And it's not necessarily a physical reaction where we're literally running or fighting or freezing. It can look like us feeling more argumentative than we would otherwise, or us being disagreeable or stonewalling. It can look like avoidance. It can look like procrastination. It can look like us being stuck in analysis paralysis. But here's the good news. When you're consistent in your daily inner work, you will create a release valve for not just the daily accumulated stress, but also for your backlog of stress. And you're going to be able to let the steam out of that release valve and therefore lower the pressure in the pressure cooker. And as a result, even when you're faced with uncertainty, you are still able to stay calm. You're still able to be present. You're still able to have a relaxed nervous system. And this is everything, because presence and calm and relaxing and being adaptable is what then lets you see more opportunities instead of noticing all the problems. Most people who don't have this release valve walk around and they see nothing but problems. This person's in my way. That's not fair. This shouldn't have happened. And that may all be true on some level, but when your nervous system is regulated, you can still see how other people can see problems, but you are also able to look at that same situation and see the opportunities for connection, opportunities for compassion, opportunities to grow, opportunities to give. Again, same circumstances, same life, but your perspective is wider, which allows you to see more because your nervous system is not being hijacked by daily accumulated stress. 5 signs that your meditation practice is too complicated. Number 1, you rarely feel like doing it. Number 2, when you do sit to meditate, your mind feels like a fire hose full of random thoughts. Number 3, you're focusing on your breath or on something else.
Number 4, your body gets antsy and you just want to lie down. And last but not least, you can't wait for the time to end and you feel relieved when it does. If any of these sound familiar, you're working way too hard in meditation. And here's the truth, most people are. But the good news is that the fix is embarrassingly simple, but you won't find it in a book or in an online course, not even my own. That's because learning how to master meditation is a lot like learning how to ride a bike or how to swim. Those activities are extremely simple to do, but impossible to learn without somebody teaching you the principles and then providing you with real-time feedback. And meditation is no different. That's why in the age of AI, I still teach live in-person meditation trainings. And if you're ready to master meditation, you're invited to Mexico City this fall to learn how to meditate with ease, the way meditation was always meant to be learned. Just go to mexico.beginmeditating.com or click the QR code to get all of the information about the early registration discount. And I hope to see you in Mexico City very soon.
Okay, next symptom. You start to see more themes and more patterns in everyday life. Now, this might be one of the most underrated symptoms because without doing your daily consistent inner work, life has a tendency to look a bit random, which means there are a bunch of isolated incidents that may be happening to you or maybe happening to people around you. You date the wrong kind of person, and this causes you to misread what's actually happening. Now, how do you know you're misreading it? Because you are habitually dating the wrong kinds of people. You are habitually getting yourself into financial dilemmas. You find yourself having lots of drama in your life. And you may conclude that you have bad luck or that the world is just a screwed up place and the dating pool, there's nobody good anymore. And there tends to be a lot of lack and scarcity language that you have in your conversations. But when you're doing your inner work, the opposite starts to happen. You start to notice, oh, wait a minute, this is not random. This outcome that I continue to get is a pattern. Because I'm making these choices over here, it's causing this effect over there. That's a pattern. A plus B is equaling C, right? And that's when you start to realize, oh, wait a minute, I'm the common denominator in all of these situations. It's not just the economy. It's not just the politicians. It's not that everybody's out to get me. It's that I've been misreading the situation and I've been ignorant of the cause that's been leading to the effect. Now, this realization is a little uncomfortable at first because it's a lot easier to do what everybody else is doing, which is you blame the economy, you blame the politicians, you blame all the people in the dating pool that aren't doing what you think they should be doing. But the moment you start to recognize that you also are habitually making certain choices, that's when your life stops to feel so random and it starts to be connected more to cause and effect. And that awareness is actually quite liberating because it means that you can make different choices and you can get different outcomes. You can see, when I do X, that's when I get Y. And then you can start to choose differently with confidence. In other words, you stop watching the reruns of the same painful story and you start writing a new episode that allows you to take full responsibility for your experience. And then the last of the 5 most common symptoms of your inner work actually working for you is you start to develop more simultaneity. What do I mean by this? Simultaneity is the compound effect of all of the other symptoms. It means that you can now do more than one thing at once without losing the quality of the other things, right? Think about it. It's easy to do something fast if you don't care about accuracy. And it's easy to be accurate if you don't care about speed. And it's easy to be both fast and accurate if you don't care about being calm. But can you be fast, accurate, and calm all together at the same time? This is what inner work trains us to be able to do. Because when your nervous system is relaxed and when your intuition sounds clear and when you're adaptable and you can see the patterns, all of that stacks up and it gives you the confidence to make quick decisions without continually second guessing yourself. And the faster you can make those decisions, the more free you are able to feel. Let me give you an example. So recently, I started tracking my daily macros. I started tracking how much protein I was consuming on a daily basis, how many carbs, how many fats, because for years, I thought I was pretty good at balanced eating. But when I started to actually measure every single thing that I was putting in my mouth, I realized that I was off in certain areas. I was eating way more fat than I realized. Now, because I'm tracking, I can see instantly what's actually serving the goals that I have for myself and what's not serving those goals. And I can adjust on the fly with confidence. And that's what simultaneity looks like. I can make quick dietary choices that I don't have to ruminate over or think about or go back and forth and get paralysis analysis. I know exactly what I want to be eating in order to lead to the outcome that I ultimately want with my physical body. And inner work does the same thing with your day-to-day choices. And look, we all have to make dozens upon dozens of choices on a daily basis. But if you're having to ruminate and go down to the psychic and get your palm read and run every decision by your friends, that is a sign that you don't have enough simultaneity, because obviously you also have to take care of your basic needs and your responsibilities and pay your bills and go to work and take care of the kids and do all the other things on top of making these choices. When you start to be more consistent in your inner work, you'll notice that you don't have to ruminate anymore for hours and hours. You don't have to outsource every decision to the psychic and to the palm reader. You can make those calls on your own and feel confident that you're moving in the right direction, not just for yourself, but also for everyone who is depending on you. And here's the key. You don't need every single choice to be perfect. All you need to do is just continue making choices consistently from that grounded, present place. And if you happen to make the occasional mistake, that's not a problem. You can just make another choice and you'll have an easier time owning the outcome of that choice, right? And that is how confidence starts to compound as a direct result of your inner work. So those are the 5 big symptoms that your inner work is actually working for you. You're more adaptable, your intuition feels clearer, your nervous system is calmer, you can see more patterns more easily, and you can do more things at the same time without compromising on speed, on accuracy, or on calmness. And here's what's important to remember. This is not a light switch. It happens in degrees. Maybe you have 10% of all that right now as a result of doing your inner work consistently for 6 months. After a year, you may have 15%. And as you continue on, it just starts to compound from there. But in the event that it's happening so gradually that you're the last person to notice, it doesn't mean that it's not happening. I remember once I had a student who I taught to meditate, and she meditated every single day for 1 year. And then she came back to see me. She said, Light, I don't think meditation is working for me. I said, wait a minute. You just told me you've been meditating every day for a year. Is that correct? She goes, yeah, I've never missed a meditation. I said, it's absolutely working. But what happens for some people is because you're in your mind and in your body, you are the last person to realize the degree to which it's working. I said, I'll bet you other people around you are going to start to notice that it's working before you do. She was skeptical. She left without feeling completely satisfied with that answer. And then a few months later, she emails me. She told me a story about how she and her husband were out to dinner. They got into one of their normal arguments. She said, where I was right and he was wrong, the usual. And after they had moved on from the argument, she said her husband started staring at her like he was seeing a ghost. And then after a while, she got a little uncomfortable and she said, why do you keep staring at me like that? He said, honey, 6 months ago, after an argument like that, you would have stormed out of the restaurant and left me sitting there alone. And now you're just able to just let it go and keep enjoying your meal? He said, I think that meditation is working. Please don't stop doing it. And she said, Light, you were right. He noticed it in me before I noticed it in myself. And I'll say the same thing is true for you. Life will show you how much your inner work is working for you. The people around you may make similar comments and reflect it back to you. So as long as you stay consistent, as long as you keep showing up daily, trust me, it is working. And if any of these 5 symptoms resonated with you, please drop a comment below. Make sure you share this with a friend who may also be committed to their inner work. and make sure you like this video. All of that helps to push this content up in the algorithm so other people can organically discover these episodes. And I'd also love to hear which one of these symptoms resonated with you the most. So let me know that in the comments as well. Now, if you want to go deeper, I got a whole playlist of these episodes to help you frame your experiences and understand how it's working for you. You can also check out my episode on the Easy Life Lie and this other episode on the 7 harsh realities of inner work. All right, keep practicing, keep enjoying your inner work, and I look forward to seeing you in the next Spiritual Perspective very soon.